The fire crackled in the hearth as the old men settled into their next round of drinks. They usually sat in the corner of the old and cozy tavern, and today had been a quiet day, and the outside cold had continued to press as the day drew on, and now that the sun had set, it was just below freezing outside, and the wind was starting to whip. Light rain drizzled on the window pane. This made the tavern's amber glow, which could be seen through the large, frosted front window panes, all the more inviting to cold and weary townspeople. It was not a proper inn, but old McDougal, who ran the place, kept a room that could be rented for a few coin if a traveler or well-drunk townsperson had need of it. The old men would usually keep to themselves, unless they got the chance to regale some young person with a tale of their amazing exploits from the sunny slopes of yesteryear. The stories they would tell grew by leaps and bounds over the years. What was once a wild fox 3 years ago has now become a man-eating bear. But this night it was not going to be one of their tales that would be told. The doors to the tavern flew open, and in the doorway stood a silhouette, dark and cloaked, wet from the rain and now snow that was falling. The small town had the comfortable size of being able to know everyone in it, but that also came with the uncomfortable ability to tell when a stranger had wandered into the quiet village. This was, no doubt, a stranger. No one dared move until he broke the threshold, closing the door behind him and moving towards the bar. The old men strained their eyes to see his face as he passed in front of them. His cloak only let the tip of his nose be seen. The man leaned over the bar and whispered something to the bartender. McDougal scurried to the back as the stranger leaned with one arm on the bar as he turned to survey the room. He slowly pulled his cloak from over his head as he looked directly at the old men. Both of the old men gulped, just loud enough for each of the other to hear it. The bartender reemerged from the storeroom with a package wrapped in a cloth tied with twine. The stranger put it in his cloak and asked for a beer. The bartender obliged, and the stranger moved closer to the fire. The empty chair that sat between the old men and the fire was where he landed. He shook his cloak of the excess rain and snow before he sat down, noticing a little of the moisture landing near the two old men. He turned in his chair slowly, somehow meeting both men's gaze at once, and gave a genuine apology for getting their feet wet. His tone was neither ominous nor frightening, and relieved smiles spread across both of their faces. In a matter of seconds, the old men were talking over one another as they tried to simultaneously introduce themselves, tell the story of the town, and find out the history of this young man. The young man visibly enjoyed their prattling and meandering as he sipped his beer. The old men had shared massive chunks of useless information at the young man while discovering that he was moving to the village to be the new appointed apothecary.
Hey, young fella, we often tell stories in this tavern. Kind of what we're known for. But tonight, if you tell us a whopper, we'll keep your glass full on our coin. Does that strike you fair?
Said one of the old men. The young man finished off the last of his first round, and with a wry smile stared at the old men. A whopper, you say?
Cask full for an earful.
The young apothecary slowly sat back in his chair, shifted his weight into the old leather seat, and grinned a devilish grin. Well, let the story begin.